This is Jonathan Agger here for Pro Boxing Fans. Briefly touched on Chisora Usyk. Obviously, possibly Usyk's biggest test at heavyweight so far. What do you think on that fight? Is Chisora capable of producing this upset?
I think, and it's not been any secret, I think Usyk is the heir apparent. It's about opportunity for Usyk. So until that happens, he's going to have to get through, jump a few hurdles, get through hoops, and be tested. Derek is a great test for him, and if he is going to be the heir apparent, if he is as good as what we think he is, or people say he is, then he should get through this with flying colours. But Derek is seasoned, he's pro, he's lost 9 professional fights, so he's won, lost and drawn in his career. He understands every aspect of our game. He's a strong, capable heavyweight that will test anybody up to world level. So if Usyk is going to be a world champion, this is the perfect acid test for him, because he's in against somebody that's not there to roll over. I seen Derek yesterday. He looked in brilliant condition, hungry, positive. He's got a wise David Haye behind him. Everything's done right, gym work wise, sparring wise, eating right. And I tell you, I've never seen him look so good condition wise. And he's tough. He's naturally tough. And so if there's any chinks in Usyk's armour, Derek will find it.
Do you find it strange seeing him and David Haye together now, considering all the rivalry?
Yeah, but then when you see him talking together, Derek's the kind of guy where he'll just say what he thinks, and you could actually be offended or bothered or just not warm to him because he's unpredictable. But then when you get to know him, he's actually a nice guy, He's actually, and I was one of those people at first I thought, he's a bit of a dick, but I actually really like him. I've got to know him and I'm thinking, this guy's all right. And he's a family man, He's in what we see, or what you see now with Derek, is not the guy who he is, and or not the guy he's portrayed to be. And I actually really like him. I like a lot about him, and he does a great job in regards to promoting himself and putting himself in the map. Remember, he's lost 9 fights. He's still there competing at top level, making mad money. So business-wise, he's doing great business moves in our sport. When people thought that's him done, and you probably thought it was done when he lost to Tyson Fury. Look where he is now. So Derek, I rate him, I like him, and I understand why he and David probably clashed initially. Now you see him, I actually like it. It makes me smile. I thought that's actually not bad union. When I first heard about it, I thought, how does that work? I get it. When you see him together, I do get it.
How do you think Derek's going to fare without a crowd? He seems to be one of these fighters where, when the crowd's on his side, he steps up to the plate. Do you think it will affect him?
Derek is a very emotionally driven fighter. So one day he could love a crowd, next day he could hate a crowd. One day again in the ring, I want to smash the life out of you. Next day he's thinking, I'm just here to make up the numbers. So for Derek, the crowd is important, but it's not be all and end all. I think it's a good way to get him G'd up. But sometimes when you're in an atmosphere, in a situation where you've just got to depend on gut instincts, you've got to go in there on how you feel or how the mood is. I think get the right Derek at the right time, in the right situation, this will fall well. And I think that odd setup of no crowd. Let's see what happens fight week. See how it is fight week. Usyk's not an aggressive, he's not a in-your-face kind of fight to wind you up. But Derek has got to pump himself up to get to a position where he's got to really dislike Usyk to want to hurt him, but also be smart enough to use what he's working on in the gym to execute it.
Just moving away from the heavyweights for a moment, Kell Brook, possible fight with Terence Crawford. How likely do you think this fight is going to happen?
It's very likely. I don't know how close to the contract it's being signed. I don't know if it's about that, if it's about location, date, or whatever. But Kell's out in future insurance at the moment training, and Kell don't take himself away to train for nothing. He's sparring with Billy Joe Saunders. I gather the likes of Lee Wood and people like that are flown out there. They'll probably do something with him as well. So he's starting to graft, and he looks in good condition. Terence Crawford, you know, there's that toss-up between Spence and Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford is a top draw fighter. I think Terence Crawford is a fighter where you think at the two of them, I'd probably go for Crawford. I rate Spence, and when Spence fought Kell, he did a great job, but I didn't think he was unbeatable. I didn't go away thinking, wow, that no one's ever going to beat that guy. Whereas Crawford, he was another fight. You looked at him, you've seen him get hurt. So I know it's a tough task. I know it's an impossible task for Kell. And if you'd have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, who I think he'd win, I'd have been chomping to say, you know, you've got to watch Kell. Don't write him off. I just don't know now, because Kell has been there. He's been in battles. It's about desire. It's about hunger. It's about ambition. I know Kell can fight. I know Kell in brilliant condition. Ambition-wise, as long as he goes in there with the right ambition, right mindset, right corner tactics, that makes all the difference. But everything's got to fall in place. Can't be cutting any corners in a fight like this against Crawford. If he does, he'll be found wanted.
Do you think this is though Terence Crawford's toughest test at 147?
There are tougher tests around.
Or toughest test he's had, should he fight Brook?
Yeah. And I would have said it's an even tougher test if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago. So on paper, yeah, without a doubt, because you look at what Kell's achieved, and you look at where he stands, and so I think Terence he's on it. You know, when Terence boxed Amir Khan, I thought Amir Khan was probably the fastest fighter I'd ever seen live. But Terence, look, Amir Khan's speed had gone, and Terence looked fast, he looked sharp, he controlled, and he pocketed Amir Khan and did a great job in shutting him down and beating him up with pace, and nice easy pace, not ferocity, but bang, he just tapped him down, broke him down, did a good job. So he's a clever fighter, Terence, he's a clever fighter.
One thing I wanted to touch on was a proposal from the WBC on this new super cruiserweight division, 190 to 220 pounds. What do you think on that proposed division?
Well, the cruiserweight division, it's had a transition because so we had light heavyweight and heavyweight. Light heavyweight's 12 stone 7, 12 stone 8. Then there was no cruiserweight. You were straight in at heavyweight. So you could be 13 stone fighting somebody at 17 stone. Then cruiserweight it was introduced for the IBF. It was 13 stone 7. For the other governing body, it was 13 stone 8. Anything over 14 stone, you were fighting heavyweight. So again, there's a massive jump. So to create super cruiser, so cruiserweight then moved up to 14.4. Moved up to 44. It gave me an extra year or two on my career because I was struggling to make the way towards the back end because it was a lot to get off. Now look at me now. I'm walking about 18.5 stone. I think, how did I make cruiserweight? And there was many times when I was weighing in at 13, 12, 13, 11, fighting guys at 17.5 stone. So you're giving away a lot of weight. So to create a super cruiser division, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, there are a lot of divisions, a lot of governing bodies, but I think it's a great idea because it's just covering that gap. There's too much of a big gap, and it's too much of a big jump. As I said, many times I've got in with guys that have had probably 3 stone on me, and you might be able to outbox them, or you might be able to be faster than them, but if they touch you, you're gone. It's too much of a massive gap. So I like the idea. There's a lot of fighters like your Deontay Wilders. Deontay walking under 16 stone, but I actually think, I wonder if he can make cruiser. And look at what he's done, and he's the biggest heavyweight puncher out there. So you've got some fighters that just can't make the weight, and they're stuck in between. So I'm glad they're thinking about doing this.
Well, one of the fights talked about was Wilder and Usyk.
Well, that could be anything. You don't have to introduce a new weight class for that. That fight would have happened anyway, and regardless, Usyk and Wilder, they probably could clash or cross paths, and it's a fight I'd like to see. It's a fight I don't think I ever will see. If I'm honest, I don't think it'll happen. I think Usyk is far too clever, technically clever for Wilder. Wilder has that one punch TNT, but Usyk is just too clever for him. Wilder's tall, he's long, he's gangly, he's hard to get to, and that punch power is the thing that pulled him out. And when he eventually came up against someone that was taller than him, longer than him, and could box better than him, it just put him in his place to say, I'm a big puncher, but you're not a big boxer. He gets in with a clever fighter like Usyk, who, by the way, I think he's not even finished the finished article yet, even though he's achieved what he's achieved, and he's got the accolation afforded to him, well deserved. I think Usyk would chop him up. I think Usyk would deal with him systematically, slowly but surely. But Wilder's always got that one punch. That's his punch. That one punch will do it for him.
He's gone quite quiet, I guess, Wilder, over the last few months. We haven't heard too much about this possible third fight with Fury, which we've already discussed about. But do you think this is just him focused fully on training camp? Is he, purposely staying out of the spotlight?
I hope it is. I hope that is the reason, because that being so, it can only benefit him, and maybe he doesn't want to say something that makes himself look foolish. And as I said, a lot of things that have been said while he lost, and a bit around the fight, I've never actually heard them come out of his mouth. I've heard them come out of the mouths of the people around him. So in doing that, he can divorce himself from that. Say, well, I didn't actually say that. I don't know where you've got that from. And it's a great trick, is it, to try and justify someone's performance by getting everybody else to say it. So when that time comes, when people like you were interviewing him, and you ask those questions, that's his answer. I never said it. Why would you think that? No, I never said that. So he's got to check his ego to say, am I going to accept that Tyson Fury give me an ass whooping because I just wasn't good enough, or because I underestimated him, I thought it was a done deal. And it's when that time happens, when he fights, he's going to have to get interviewed, and it's down to the interviewer to have the bottle to ask the questions, because when he's in your face shouting and bawling, and because he can be an intimidating, imposing figure, I've seen some into his hands like that. You've got to ask the question, and he's got to remember this isn't personal. People are asking the question because they want the answer, and if you put yourself in that position, you can't vet what you asked and what you answer. So I think the smartest move for him is to take himself away from everything, and that way at least he can go back, lick his wounds, think, right, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, I did this wrong. Let me see if I can fix that. And he can't really say anything yet until they fought each other, and then he can say what he wants to say.
Just sticking with the heavyweights, Kalle Sauerland said that possibly a World Boxing Super Series next year with the heavyweights, without AJ and Fury, but 8 men in a tournament, whilst the belts are sort of being contested. Who would you like to see in that tournament? If you could pick 8 people.
And so Tyson Fury and AJ's not in it?
No, they wouldn't be in it.
Wilder's not in it?
He can be in it.
Okay then, so again, you've got some fights like, you've got Wilder, you've got Dillian, you've got Joe Joyce, you've got Dubois, you've got an array of heavyweights that are. You've even got Ortiz. You've got some heavyweights that are dangerous buggers that have been avoided. Eastern Europeans that people know nothing about, that can fight for fun. So you're going to have your odd wild card in there, but there are some fighters that, and I've been in that club, that Who Needs Him club. Those boys can go in that tournament, and they can get themselves a platform and elevate to people saying, right, why are you not fighting me? This is what I can do, and you can uncover some stars, some fighters that are just not getting the nudge because they probably don't put enough bums on seats, but they can fight. I'd love that. Oh my goodness, that's mouth-watering.
I mean, Dana White said in a recent interview, I think with BT, that UFC is ahead of boxing, and it has been for the last 2 decades. I think was the words to that effect. Do you think that is because sometimes we don't get always the biggest fights immediately?
We don't do ourselves any favours in boxing, because A won't fight B and B won't fight C and C won't, on that stupid merry-go-round. We shoot ourselves in the foot, and that's why in UFC, A will fight B, B will fight C. The fights get done. There's no argument, and that's why we don't do ourselves any favours. And because if you went to somebody and said who's the world champion, that didn't really know about boxing, they were aware of it, they wouldn't know whether to say Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, because there's that many governing bodies, that many different fractions, that it's confusing people, and we don't do ourselves any favours, because if people understood our sport more often and who was who, then we'd have more fans, because people say, oh, I want to follow him. But when you hear someone's an interim champion or a diamond champion or champion XYZ, you think, well, champion's champion, who's the best? Just tell me who the best is. And you're confused. And so I understand why Dana's coming from with that. I get that.
Just a couple more, because it's been going on for a while now, as usual. Lomachenko-Lopez, big fight coming up. I mean, credit to Top Rank for even putting that on behind closed doors, but yeah, what a fight.
Lomachenko is one of those fighters that where he's getting better and better and better. Lopez, you're going to look at this and think, wow, that's a crazy fight. Why would you do this? I think for Lomachenko, again, will adapt like a chameleon and do what he has to do and show his excellent boxing skill, style, accuracy and pedigree to actually put Lopez in his place, and it shows how confident these fighters are to say, look, actually, I've got this pedigree for a reason, because I can do this. I'm going Lomachenko. I think Lopez, it's an excellent fight, but if there's any fraud, if there's any hustle, anybody's being built up by hype, the hype's going to be exposed by fact when the belt goes. And I think fact is Lomachenko. Lomachenko getting there and say, look, I've got true pedigree. I deserve to be here. This is why I've got the pedigree I've got. This is what I get from that. Looking forward to that fight, really am.
And a few weeks away, I think next week, is the return of Joshua-Kubrat. Big card with the likes of Alan Babbage on it, exciting heavyweight, English middleweight title fight. What do you make of that card?
It's a good card because there's a lot of fighters itching to get back in the ring and fight. And unfortunately, because of what's happening, we're not seeing them. The opportunities slip by. So, and I get it. I do totally get that. So now to get Buatsi back in the mix again, trust me, he's not the only one. There's many fighters saying, look, just let me box, let me get in the mix. So he's trying to give us some normality back again. Unfortunately, with this current age, a lot of people are, you don't know if you can have crowds or not have crowds. And the promoters are the ones that are now going to be losing out. Your Frank Warrens, your Matchrooms, even your small-time promoters, because they depend on those gate receipts to help them do their job. People don't see that. So now you've got to try and create something out of nothing. So for Buatsi to get that option to get back in the mix and get his career back on track again, for Babbage to get some momentum, for all the fighters on the undercard to get some momentum going, it's a great opportunity to try and get some normality back into our game.
Just two more. AJPULEV looking possible for December. Do you see that fight happening this year? And the second question is, comments made by Eddie Hearn that he thinks that Joshua might vacate that WBO belt to face Tyson Fury rather than fight if it is Oleksandr Usyk. Do you think that's the likely situation to happen?
So a two-part question. The first part, I'd love the AJ to fight this year, but I think business and I know they're announcing it or semi-announced that he's fighting in December. I think it will all depend on the current climate. I can't wait to start helping get involved in the promotion of that. In reality, my gut's telling me it won't. That's what my gut's telling me. Only because I think these are big stadium fighters. I think these guys would lose a lot more money on the gate. And fair to them, if they fight and the fight's done, it's sealed. they're losing a lot of money. So I've got to give it credit. And AJ himself said, look, it's business. I've got to make a heart decision or a business decision. And so once it's announced, that means it's a done deal, no matter what. So I am looking forward to it, but my gut's telling me no, my heart's saying, come on, yes, we can do this. I'm looking forward to it. In regards to the second part, which one was it? How did it go? What was the second part of the question?
Whether he'd vacate the WBO belt.
So whether he'd vacate it, is it a good move? Yeah, of course it is. Because we'll be forever waiting. Oh, you're going to fight him. You're going to fight him. You're going to fight him. He can always fight Usyk after that if he wins. Tyson Fury can always fight Usyk or his mandatory after that if he wins. So give the public the fight they want. That's the way forward. It doesn't mean you're bottoming it because you're not fighting him, because you're stuck in the middle thinking, well, I want to do this, you're asking for this, you're saying I've got to do that. So I understand, and I get Eddie Hearn saying that might happen. I do get that.
And Mayweather and Logan Paul, did you hear about this?
I heard about that. You got to give it to Floyd Mayweather. He's officially been retired from our sport for so long. He's making more money now than active fighters, fighting the likes of Conor McGregor. This comes on with Logan Paul. It's a different audience. You saw he had another one in was it China or Hong Kong, behind closed doors one. He's making mad money.
Yeah, in Japan, yeah.
In Japan. So for this one, it'll happen. It'll happen because the YouTubers love it. If they want to do it, they'll do it. And they'll make a hell of a lot of money out of it. As a sport, the seriousness of MMA, it's just a fact to see. It's like us getting excited about Tyson Fury or Roy Jones fighting. We get all nostalgic on the fight as they were. And quite clearly Floyd Mayweather's not the fighter he was. But it would be enough of a fight to deal with Logan Paul. And so it's just to see the exhibition. You want to see him out in the mix, see him out there doing his thing. So I can see it happening. The funny thing was, when he was fighting Conor McGregor, if you saw the McGregor fans going mad, they could never see how Floyd Mayweather could beat their man. For Logan Paul, I'm just trying to figure out if you've got fans that think he'll beat Mayweather, that means they think KSI is better than Mayweather. KSI beat him.
KSI said he should be fighting Mayweather.
Yeah. So this is commercial, this is business, this is entertainment.
What did you make of working with Logan and KSI?
It's a different world. It's honestly a completely different world. It's a world that I am not very aware of, and I mean they've got a massive fan base. It's like a load of little clever geeks, computer geeks, like saying, "Come on, it's just a completely different world." Even when we went to the show and they fought each other, I can remember parents coming in. Now, a boxing show, if say the doors open 5 o'clock and the main bout's on 10 o'clock, people would roll up about 7. I remember parents coming in with their kids, and I mean, with packed lunch, sat down, when the doors open, and I'm looking thinking, wow, you have no idea. So they were just sat there, and we're having a packed lunch in the arena for KSI and Logan Paul when they boxed each other. And I was chuckling to myself thinking, this is a different world, it's a different crowd. And these are the new superheroes for the kids, and they'll pay, or they'll get their mum to pay. So Mayweather's tapped into a wicked market.
And just lastly, just talk to me a bit about your work with Gloves Up, Knife Down.
Okay, so this is something that Brendan Ingle had actually been doing in Sheffield in one form or another, working with the community. Getting kids off the street, getting kids to have a bit more pride in themselves, to use whatever talent they've got in the best way they can. Gloves Up, Knife Down, they asked me to get involved with their programme down here in London, because we know knife crime obviously is a pandemic, and it's bad. And I like the idea, I like the sentiment behind it. It reminds me of what Brendan was doing in Sheffield and around Sheffield. I get why we're working at and how it can work. I get the help, the inspiration, the confidence it'll give to individuals. I think it'll help in schools, I think it'll help in communities. It's just giving another outlet to kids and giving them another choice. Let them see how life could be, shouldn't be, and give them dreams, give them aspirations. It worked for me, and I know many guys that that I work with that boxed, that if they didn't box, they'd end up in prison. And some that did box ended up in prison because they came off the path. So I think Gloves Up Life Down will make the difference. If it makes a difference to one individual, then it's doing its job. And I think it'll make a difference to more than one individual.
Brilliant. Johnny, thanks very much for your time. As always, I take up about an hour, but I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Sweet, lovely, thank you.
Thank you.